Hi guys, thanks for joining us today. We have a special guest. Her name is Jess, and she is the owner of Organize with Jess. Hey Jess. So thanks for being here with us today. Jess is going to help us talk about some great back to school tips for the kids to help, with that transition, getting back to school, helping things run smoothly, some organizing tips for all their bags and extracurricular activity things, and also some household management tips. I don't know if a lot of you know that, we also place household managers or help families transition their nanny to household managers as the kids get older and their duties are less kid involved and kind of more household involved in helping running and organizing the house smoothly. So Jess, welcome.
Thank
you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So can you tell us a little bit about Organize with Jess?
Sure. I am Jess Trott. I'm the owner of Organize with Jess here in Greensboro. We run a team of 6 organizing consultants. We work as productivity consultants, and we do errand and concierge services as well.
Great. And what's your service area?
So we will travel anywhere within a 30-mile radius, typically about 30 minutes from our home office out to the clients. After that, we just charge for billable time. So we have clients that are in Wilmington, Danville. I have clients that have me come back to Seattle every now and then. They just pay for the travel for that. But typically, most of Greensboro, Winston, and High Point.
Okay, great. And what is different about your organizing company?
What's different about what's our niche, right? Everyone always asks us, what's our niche? So we're different because we don't organize for that final photo, which sounds strange. It sounds like the opposite of what most people do. We organize for the clients that we're working with. We want their lives to be streamlined. We want things to be simple. We want to facilitate the way that their life is already occurring. So we spend a lot of time getting to know the client, getting to learn what they want done, and setting up their home so that the home works for them. That way they can get organized and get on with it.
Awesome. All right, so back to school organization. What, in your experience, do you see your family struggle with or clients struggle with the most, and how have you helped, and how can you share for our nannies, obviously specifically, but also families, to help with back to school?
Sure. So back to school is such a stressful time for everybody involved. There's so many different changes. Moms and dads are having to reacclimate into not only working but getting the kids where they need to be as well, but the kids are also going through a lot. So for me, keeping it as simple as possible is what's going to be the best. Having specific locations for kids to place their school bags, having, command hooks hung by the front door or entryway systems set up. Doesn't have to be anything elaborate. We don't have to have custom cabinetry built, but putting up command hooks, having little stools for them to set their things down, knowing where their lunch bags go back to, keeping things consistent. We typically set up an inbox too for mom and dad because that permission slip comes home, needs to be signed. Mom doesn't get home from the office until 7:30. She can check the box, sign it, put it back into her son or daughter's backpack, and that way it makes it back to school. So setting up loop closures for a lot of things. We like to work with each individual family to see, are the kids going to preschool? That's going to be very different than 2 high school students who have band and soccer and football practice afterwards. So it would depend on their needs, but making things simple and streamlined, being preemptive about it, getting set up before they need to be set up so that when the school year starts, they feel prepared.
Great. Awesome. I love the inbox idea, which kind of brings me to how do you manage or recommend your clients manage, especially with the little ones, preschools, and they have all the artwork and just things, endless things, they're pulling out of their backpack
Yes.
that mom and dad don't necessarily always want to keep. They love it. Yay, looks great, sweetie. But what do we do with it afterward? What do we keep? What can be, maybe tossed aside? So how do you navigate that with your clients?
Sure. This is one of my favorite things to deal with clients. I taught preschool for a long time, and there are behind the scenes limits and expectations placed on preschool teachers. So we had to create a certain amount of artwork to send home with kids. So I tell clients that when you receive something home that is clearly mass produced, it looks like an assembly line of handprints have happened, or there's apple cores that have been, dipped in paint and then smacked all over a piece of paper, and your son's is no different than someone else's child's. Those are the pieces that we can enjoy for the week and then pass on. The ones where it's clearly your child's artwork. It's the first time they draw a little person and the arms come out from the head. There's not even a body. We keep that. We love that. Then all of a sudden, a year from now, there'll be one where they finally have a body. Those ones that are specific to your child, we keep. And I use the example, when you buy a book on all of Picasso's best artwork, it's not every single thing he ever did. It's the absolute best. It's the noteworthy ones. We want to create that same archive for our kids. So handprints, I'm a huge fan of. When they trace the kids' feet, anytime they write a story where they talk about how mom loves wine and dad's always watching TV, or that's hilarious. Like, he's going to love that in a couple of years. But the ones that are clearly just assembly line creation, yes, he put time and energy. It taught them something. It was valuable for that day. But that's just it. It was valuable for that day. It's not something that needs to be held on for the future.
And what do you do with the ones that you hold on to? Do you put them in a binder, or how do you file? What type of filing system? Frame them? You know, what's the best? Well, I'm sure there's multiple ways.
There's multiple ways. And again, we would always want to defer to what the client had, what their expectations are for that recapture. How are they going to enjoy it? Archive, ARTKIVE, is a great resource. They send you a box, you dump everything in the box, you ship it to them. They send you back a bound book of your child's artwork. That I love.
Amazing.
That's really cool. Typically, I recommend that we get one of those, a large empty boot box or shoe box, dump everything in, shove it underneath the kid's bed. At the end of every school year, we pull everything out, we go through everything, we pare it down. That way there's less in there, and we shove it back in there. For things like schoolwork or worksheets, again, if it's something that your child created, if it's specific to them, keep it, honor it, hold on to it. If it's a ditto that's been printed out, ditto, right? I'm dating myself with that term right there. That every single child did, and there's no difference. Even if the name was wrong, we wouldn't know the difference. Those things can get passed on, but things that were unique to that child, we keep. And you can file them. I love those portable file boxes. Just drop a bunch of folders in there, write 1 through 12 on it, and that's every year for the kid. And it's easy just to try to drop it in there. Awards, attendance, soccer, whatever it is, all those little certificates that they get can get added to that as well.
That's great. I feel like we've evolved. When I was young, I can remember my mom had, after you get a comforter, the big plastic, everything was shoved in those and shoved under the bed.
But it works, though. That works. So for me, if it works, it's fine. Yeah. So that's hysterical.
All right, so let's move on a little bit to household management quickly. What are maybe the 3 best tips that you have for household management and owner of the home relationships? I know communication is one of the biggest struggles we see.
Sure.
So maybe something about that, and again, just general, tips to streamline the process, make it most efficient, that sort of thing.
Sure. So for me, the communication piece is hard because the owner doesn't want to feel like they're micromanaging. And the house manager doesn't want to feel like they're stepping on toes. So there's this weird volley of control that happens. And what I typically say is that for the owner, you are allowed to micromanage. It is the owner of the home, you're allowed to micromanage. You're allowed to have specific ways that you want the toilet paper hung. Over is right, under is completely wrong, right? Like, there's a way for things to be done. And if I was to write that out, it sounds like I'm a maniac, right? I want you to undo the toilet paper, put it on, make sure that it's hanging over. But it makes it so that my house manager can effectively execute what I'm asking her to execute. And that's what we want. That's the goal. For the house manager as well, she wants to effectively execute those things, or he. Tools for that, I use iPhone reminders is great because I can say, hey Siri, change the toilet paper to my Jess list. And then when Jess arrives at work, she can open up that list and kind of see exactly what it is that I need her to do. You can get more specific with that. So there's times where, one task, take the dog out, might be a simple bullet point on a to-do list, but that might encompass 50 or 60 different things that I need accomplished. Do I want you to take the dog out front or out back? Do I want the dog to have a leash on or not? Do I need you to pick up after the dog or not? There's a lot of little things. So having that communication, I don't think of it as micromanaging. I think of it as doing a good job and being preemptive for that person. I love when someone tells me exactly what they want me to do, because then I can choose to execute that.
And then you spend the time in the beginning being a little bit more micromanaging, but you don't spend months and months repeating and having to retrain and I feel like that's where a lot of the frustration comes in at. So,
and there's a certain point too. So the first month I'm willing to train. If we had just met, I'm willing to train you and show you where I keep things and how to do things. After a month, I expect you to know. After 2 months, I really expect you to know. After 3 months, I'm disappointed that you don't know. So it changes that relationship. So when you set it up initially where I'm going to be very clear and show you exactly what it is that I need from you, it gives you the opportunity not only to be successful, but for you to say, hang on, there's a different way to do this. Here's how I would typically execute that, and we can have a conversation about it. If there's no conversation, then I'm assuming you saw that light bulb and you didn't change it, and you're not doing your job. And for the house manager, they're like, why hasn't Jess changed the light bulb yet? And there's this unspoken, frustration that kind of builds and gets bigger, and it breaks down the relationship when it could be avoided. Whose job is the light bulb? If we know that, it clears up that miscommunication.
Great. And you also mentioned before we started, when we were just kind of briefing, about Workplace. Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. I'm glad you wrote that down. So Workplace is a branch off of Facebook, so we don't get anything from promoting them. They're just awesome. Workplace is something that I can use. We use it inherently at Organize with Jess for my entire crew to communicate. It's a platform similar to a Facebook group that you would set up. You can invite who you need to invite, and then I can share pictures, I can share files, we can have communication. I can post on there that I need the dog walked at noon, and I can see that Shanae has seen that. So I know that she's attended to it. She can ask me questions there. It keeps things in the thread. So Workplace is great. They don't charge for usage up until a certain amount of employees. I'm sure eventually they will. They don't right now. And that's great. We are able to use that for multiple different platforms too. So we have inherent groups within our company that has access to different information. And that makes it really nice to track projects, to see how things are kind of working back and forth, to be able to communicate, versus me texting my team at 10 o'clock on a Sunday because I just thought of something, which isn't fair to them. However, as the owner, I need to be able to communicate with them when something occurs to me. So it gives me an outlet for them to have their task list, for them to know what's expected, and it gives them the freedom to have off when they are truly off. That way they're not at my beck and call.
Wonderful. I think that sounds great that Nina by Design can even adopt. So cool. All right, so tell everyone where they can find you or contact you should they have questions or, obviously want to look into your services and assistance with their household or, things like that.
Sure. So again, I'm Jess Trott. I'm the owner of Organize with Jess. Our website, organizewithjess.com, has great contact forms where you can send in information. You can email us directly. We drive huge black flowered vans that it is hard to miss. So if you ever see us, give us a wave. Again, thanks for having me, Shanae.
Thank you for being here. This was so awesome. So remember to follow us on Facebook and like us on Instagram. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.